Beneath Oregon's towering pines and misty mountain trails lies a history that's anything but quiet. Once filled with gold rush dreams, frontier battles, and promises of new beginnings, many of the state's remote towns now sit, abandoned, their streets silent, their buildings crumbling. But silence doesn't mean peace. From haunted hotels and cursed cemeteries to echoing military forts and forest ruins, Oregon is a land where the past lingers and sometimes reaches out. In this video, we'll follow the forgotten trails and unearth 10 haunted places in Oregon where ghost towns aren't just empty. They're alive with whispers, shadows, and stories that refuse to die. Step carefully, some of these trails lead to places you might never forget. 1. Sheniko, the ghost town that refuses silence. Once known as the Queen of the Desert, Sheniko rose to fame during Oregon's wool boom in the early 1900s. With its strategic location along the Columbia Southern Railway, it quickly became one of the most important wool shipping centers in the United States. At its peak, Sheniko boasted bustling saloons, a schoolhouse, a hotel, and a proud population that believed their town would last forever. But fate had other plans. When railway routes changed and demand for wool shifted, Sheniko's growth came to a sudden halt. The once busy streets emptied, businesses closed their doors. The town slowly slipped into silence, its buildings left behind as skeletons of a forgotten era. Today, Sheniko remains one of Oregon's most famous ghost towns, a place caught between memory and decay. Walk its dusty streets, and you'll feel it, the stillness, the weight of history, and a presence that never fully left. The Sheniko Hotel, once the centerpiece of the town, is now closed to the public. But those who've wandered near its aging walls speak of strange things, heavy footsteps on creaking floorboards, whispers that seem to come from empty rooms, and sudden cold spots that appear out of nowhere. There are no guests, no staff, and no modern-day reason for such noises. And yet, every year, visitors return with stories that defy logic. Some believe it's the spirits of former residents, still clinging to the only home they ever knew. Others think the hotel itself has a memory, one that replays moments from a past it refuses to forget. Sheniko may have faded from maps and modern plans, but in the quiet of its desert winds, it speaks. And if you listen closely, it just might speak to you. 2. Hot Lake Springs, where healing turns to haunting. Tucked away in eastern Oregon, Hot Lake Springs was once hailed as a miracle of nature, a place where travelers and the ill came to soak in its mineral-rich waters, believed to have powerful healing properties. In the early 1900s, a grand resort and sanatorium were built on the site. Guests from across the country flocked here for rest, recovery, and rejuvenation. But beneath the surface of its warm, bubbling waters, a darker history was brewing. Over the decades, the site endured a series of tragedies. A devastating fire destroyed much of the building in 1934. It later served various purposes, including as a mental hospital, a nursing home, and even an asylum for the mentally ill. The once pristine halls that echoed with laughter and life were replaced by cries, confusion, and sorrow. Many who entered its doors during this period never left. Today, Hot Lake Springs has been partially restored and reopened as a hotel and spa, but those who stay overnight often report eerie encounters. Visitors have seen ghostly figures, most famously a nurse in an old-fashioned uniform silently pacing the dimly lit hallways, Guests have also heard the unmistakable squeak of a gurney's wheels echoing through the night, even when no one is there. Some claim to feel sudden chills or hear whispered voices near the old treatment rooms. Others report waking up at precisely 3:00 a.m., gripped by the feeling that they're being watched. Despite renovations, the past refuses to remain buried. Hot Lake Springs may still draw seekers of healing, but it offers something else as well, a window into a lingering, restless history. What was once a sanctuary of health has become a place where the line between care and torment is forever blurred. 3. Oregon Vortex, a place that defies physics and logic. Hidden deep in the forests near Gold Hill, the Oregon Vortex is one of the state's most baffling and infamous paranormal hotspots. Visitors have called it a place where reality seems to bend, where the laws of physics twist, and the impossible becomes routine. Here, people appear to shrink or grow depending on where they stand. Balls roll uphill, brooms balance on their own, even compasses spin wildly, unable to find north. Locals and scientists alike have tried to explain the phenomena, but no theory fully accounts for what happens within the vortex. Some suggest it's an optical illusion or magnetic anomaly. Others believe it's far more mysterious, a place where natural and supernatural energies collide. Native legends long spoke of the area as forbidden ground, where animals refused to go and strange energies pulsed through the earth. The epicenter of the vortex is the House of Mystery, a tilted shack where the effects are most intense. But the deeper you explore, the stranger it gets. Visitors report more than just odd physics. They speak of shadows that move against the light, whispers with no source, and the sensation of being watched by something just out of sight. Some have even captured blurred figures on camera, too faint to identify, yet too distinct to dismiss. Paranormal investigators suggest the site may be a thinning of the veil between worlds, a natural portal that draws in and traps energy, thoughts, and spirits. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, one thing's certain: the Oregon Vortex is unlike anywhere else. Step inside, and you may leave questioning everything, including the reality you thought you understood. 4. The Witch's Castle, Forest Park's Forgotten Curse. Deep within Portland's Forest Park, hidden by trees and moss-covered trails, stand the eerie remains of a crumbling stone structure locals call the Witch's Castle. Though its true name was never tied to witchcraft, the stories surrounding it tell a much darker tale, one of betrayal, murder, and a curse that never lifted. In the mid-1800s, this land belonged to a settler named Danford Balk. Tensions erupted when Balk's daughter secretly married a hired hand named Mortimer Stump against her father's wishes. What followed was one of Oregon's earliest recorded murders. Balk shot and killed Stump with a shotgun, right in front of witnesses. He was later hanged, but many believe his restless spirit, or something darker, remained rooted in the ruins. Over time, the site became a place of legend. Teenagers held late-night gatherings there, only to flee in panic after hearing voices whispering through the trees. Some hikers report being pushed violently by invisible hands near the ruins, especially after dark. Others hear manic laughter echoing from the surrounding forest, with no one in sight. Despite decades of decay, the structure refuses to disappear, like it's held together by something more than just stone. Paranormal investigators claim the energy here is charged, and some visitors report nausea or dizziness the moment they approach. Is it truly a witch's home, or simply a murder site, tainted by grief and guilt? Either way, one thing is clear. The witch's castle is not just a name, it's a warning. Enter if you must, but tread carefully. Some say, once the forest marks you, it never lets you go. 5. Fort Stevens, where soldiers still stand guard. Located at the mouth of the Columbia River, Fort Stevens once served as a critical military defense post guarding Oregon's coast from the Civil War through World War II. It's most famous for one chilling distinction. In 1942, it became the only mainland U.S. military site to be fired upon by a Japanese submarine. Though the attack caused little physical damage, many believe it awakened something that still hasn't settled. Today, Fort Stevens is a state park, drawing campers, history buffs, and curious ghost hunters alike. Its moss-covered bunkers and decaying artillery sites make for an eerie landscape, but it's the reports of spectral activity that keep some from ever staying overnight. Many visitors claim to see shadowy figures dressed in old military uniforms silently patrolling the grounds, especially near the abandoned batteries. Phantom footsteps echo through empty tunnels. Some hear distant cannon blasts or the sharp crack of gunfire. Despite the fort being long out of commission, one particularly chilling tale comes from a camper who chose to sleep inside a restored barracks. In the dead of night, he awoke suddenly, unable to move, and with the clear sensation of someone grabbing his ankle and tugging him toward the edge of the bed. When he turned on his flashlight, no one was there, but the cold lingered, whether the spirits are lost soldiers still performing their duty, or simply echoes of war imprinted on the land. One thing is certain: Fort Stevens remains guarded by history, by memories, and possibly by the dead. 6. Lafayette Cemetery, the Witch's Revenge. Nestled in the quiet town of Lafayette, Oregon, lies a cemetery that appears ordinary by day, rows of weathered tombstones, shaded by tall trees. But as night falls, this place transforms into one of the state's most feared paranormal sites. Local legend speaks of a witch who was hanged here in the 1800s, accused of dark rituals and malevolent acts. Before her death, she is said to have placed a curse on the land, vowing that anyone who disturbed her grave would suffer a terrible fate. Over the years, stories have emerged that seem to support the curse. At least 3 people who allegedly mocked or defiled the witch's gravesite are said to have died under strange and sudden circumstances, accidents, illnesses, or unexplained disappearances that followed shortly after their visit. Paranormal investigators and thrill seekers who've explored the cemetery often report bizarre technical malfunctions. Cameras refuse to work. Batteries drain within minutes. Flashlights flicker and die, no matter how new the batteries. But the most unsettling reports involve sound. Several visitors claim to hear the soft sobbing of a woman coming from the darker corners of the cemetery, even when no one else is there. Some have fled after seeing a pale figure watching them from between the tombstones, only for her to vanish the moment they shine a light. Others speak of feeling an overwhelming sense of sorrow or dread as they pass certain graves. Lafayette Cemetery may not appear cursed at first glance, but if the stories are true, it holds a warning for all who enter. Respect the dead, especially those who swore revenge. Because not all graves are silent. and not all spirits rest in peace. 7. Jacksonville, a gold rush town full of ghosts. Tucked into the hills of southern Oregon, Jacksonville began as a booming gold rush town in the 1850s. Miners, merchants, and opportunists flooded the region, building saloons, theaters, and grand homes in a matter of months. Though the gold eventually ran dry, many of the town's historic buildings remain lovingly preserved as a living museum. But some say the people who once walked these streets never truly left. Today, Jacksonville is a charming tourist destination by day, but by night, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows stretch longer, the wind seems to whisper, and those old buildings, they're not as empty as they seem. The Brit Theater, once the center of town entertainment, is known for unexplained cold spots and the sound of phantom footsteps backstage. Some have heard the rustle of costumes and glimpsed a man in 19th century dress pacing the balcony. At the Beekman House Museum, where the wealthy Beekman family once lived, volunteers and staff report doors opening and closing on their own, strange tapping noises, and objects moving without explanation. Jacksonville's Old City Hall also has a reputation with accounts of ghostly figures seen lingering by the windows and lights flickering at odd hours. One particularly haunting detail is the sound of piano music drifting from locked buildings, even when no one is inside. Locals believe these spirits are former townsfolk miners, performers, bankers bound to the place they helped build. Whether they're reminiscing, reliving, or simply refusing to fade into history, their presence adds an unmistakable chill to Jacksonville's golden past. Come for the history, but don't be surprised if something or someone is watching from the shadows. 8. McMenamins Edgefield, luxury with a dark past. Located just outside Portland in Troutdale, McMenamins Edgefield is now a vibrant hotel and entertainment venue, known for its art-covered walls, gardens, and vintage charm. But beneath its lively exterior lies a history far more somber and a reputation for being one of Oregon's most haunted places. Built in 1911, Edgefield originally served as the Multnomah County Poor Farm, a self-sustaining institution for the poor, elderly, and mentally ill. Over the decades, it operated as a nursing home, a tuberculosis hospital, and even a rehabilitation center. Thousands of people passed through its halls, many of them never leaving. The walls have witnessed hardship, isolation, and untold suffering. Today, guests who check in for a night of relaxation often leave with chilling stories. Some report being gently touched in their sleep by unseen hands. Others have watched objects fall or shift without explanation. Staff have grown accustomed to hearing whispers, laughter, or footsteps coming from empty rooms. Room 215 in particular has a reputation for being especially heavy. Visitors describe a suffocating atmosphere, sudden cold drafts, and the sensation of being watched. A few have even checked out early after experiencing overwhelming dread or vivid nightmares. Despite these reports, McMenamins embraces its haunted past, even offering ghost tours that explore the building's eerie legacy. For those brave enough to stay, the experience is unforgettable, a place where luxury meets lingering spirits. And every creak in the floor might be more than just the old bones of the building. At Edgefield, history isn't just remembered, it's felt. And sometimes, it whispers back. 9. Battery, Russell, echoes from the Pacific War. Hidden within the mossy woods of Fort Stevens, Battery Russell stands as a haunting reminder of World War II's reach into the American mainland. Built in the early 1900s, this massive concrete gun battery once protected Oregon's coast from potential enemy attack. It became part of history on June 21, 1942, when it was shelled by a Japanese submarine, the only continental U.S. fortification to be attacked during the war. Today, Battery Russell is a place of eerie silence. Its cold underground tunnels are open to the public, but few who visit come away unaffected. The air is heavy, the light dim, and the sense of isolation immediate. Many who explore the battery describe a strange, oppressive feeling, like being watched from the shadows. Cameras and phones often glitch or lose signal, especially near the lower levels. Paranormal investigators have recorded unexplained EMF spikes and distorted audio, as if something unseen is trying to speak. Even more chilling are the visual encounters. Dozens of visitors have claimed to see the fleeting outline of soldiers in outdated uniforms walking the corridors, standing guard at the doorways, or vanishing straight through the concrete walls. These ghostly figures never speak, but their presence lingers long after they disappear. Some believe the spirits of those who once served here remain bound to their post, still carrying out duties decades after the war ended. Others say the traumatic energy of the submarine attack left an imprint, a residual haunting that replays itself like a memory trapped in time. Battery Russell may no longer echo with gunfire, but the past hasn't faded. For those who enter, it offers not just a glimpse of wartime history, but a chilling brush with the souls who never stopped guarding the coast. 10. Sumpter, ghost town frozen in time. Nestled in the Blue Mountains of eastern Oregon, Sumpter was once a bustling gold rush town, brimming with saloons, shops, and the promise of fortune. In the early 1900s, it boasted electric lights, a narrow-gauge railroad, and a thriving population. But in 1917, a devastating fire swept through the heart of the town, reducing much of it to ash in a single night. Though a portion of Sumpter was rebuilt, it never returned to its former glory. As mining declined and residents moved away, the town slipped into silence, leaving behind weathered buildings, rusting machinery, and the echoes of a vanished era. Today, Sumpter lives on as a historic site and popular stop for ghost hunters. The old Sumpter Valley Railroad still operates tourist rides, its antique train creaking along tracks that once carried gold and dreams. But many believe the past isn't just remembered here, it's still very much alive. Visitors report flickering lights in long-abandoned hotels, despite no power running to the buildings. Doors slam without warning, and cold spots appear suddenly in empty rooms. Most unsettling are the sounds of children laughing and running heard in buildings that haven't held a school or family in decades. Paranormal investigators have captured unexplained voices, strange energy readings, and shadowy figures in photographs. Some believe the spirits of miners, railroad workers, and lost children still roam the streets unaware that time has passed them by. Sumpter may be frozen in time, but that time seems to loop, replaying fragments of its former life again and again. For those who visit, it offers more than a history lesson. It offers a chilling step into a world where the line between past and present has all but disappeared. Oregon's ghost towns may seem forgotten by time, but the echoes of the past are everywhere, in the creak of an old hotel floorboard, the hush of footsteps in a forest ruin, or the distant cry of a voice that shouldn't be there. These places aren't just abandoned, they're alive in their own eerie way. Whether it's the restless spirits of miners, soldiers still on patrol, or whispers of long-lost lives, one thing is certain in Oregon: the line between history and haunting is thin and easy to cross. Would you dare to walk these trails alone, or would you turn back the moment the shadows start to follow? If you enjoyed this journey into Oregon's haunted corners, don't forget to subscribe to True Creepy Experiences for more chilling tales from the edge of the unknown.